A while back, I made a video about my interpretation of what FNaF fans often call the Missing Children's Incident. The Missing Children's Incident, in its simplest terms, is the event wherein the purple guy, otherwise known as William Afton, killed 5 children in a Freddy Fazbear's pizza establishment. It's the catalyst for the rest of the series, and although it's most likely not the first tragedy in the timeline, it's definitely the one that caused the most collateral damage. With these kids going missing, restaurants were shut down, families fell apart, and William Afton, the killer, was the one standing on top in the end. So what was my video about? Well, in that video, which I highly recommend you watch before continuing with this one, I cover when, where, why, and how I think the Missing Children's Incident happened, as well as confirming that it was the Missing Children's Incident and not simply a Missing Children's Incident. That's actually been a debate in the community for a while, given people believe that on top of the original 5 more were killed in the FNaF 2 location. That's something I still don't agree with, but given the audience's response to that specifically, it inspired me to look deeper. Maybe there was some detail that I had missed. Maybe something was forgotten, or some statement was made that I just got wrong. And, well, I did. I made a mistake in my video, but it's a mistake I guarantee the vast majority of people who saw that video also made. So let's get into it. Given that I'm kinda correcting my own theory, I do want to apologize preemptively if it sounds like I'm retreading talking points I made in that video. That's just a consequence of me having to make it so people can watch this video on its own and still understand what I'm talking about. So basically, what I believe I messed up on were the when and where elements of the Missing Children's Incident. I had proposed that the Missing Children's Incident had to happen in 1987 and it had to take place at the FNaF 2 location. That's the only location in the entire original trilogy that we can confirm someone died at, given that several phone calls in FNaF 2 acknowledge it as an ongoing investigation, and Phone Guy confirms that there was a yellow suit in the back of the restaurant that was used. Although he doesn't specify any number of kids dying, hell, he doesn't even say any kids died at all, the fact that this is never brought up again and parallels well with our existing knowledge of the Missing Children's Incident leads me to believe that someone did die in this restaurant. However, the FNaF 2 minigames seem to say otherwise, given that 5 dead kids can be seen in a restaurant where the original Foxy is functional, and 5 dead kids can be seen in a restaurant where the toys are performing and the Wizards are in a back room. This is where I want to point out something that I said upon re-examining my evidence. I no longer believe. I stated in that video that the Withered animatronics were being used at the FNaF 2 location before the toys made their debut. However, there's nothing backing that up. My interpretation of the phone call mentioning the company wanting to reuse the Wizards was that, well, they did that. In fact, though, the phone call almost implies the opposite, saying that they smelled and were too ugly. I personally don't believe anymore that the Wizards were ever used in the FNaF 2 location, meaning Foxy Go 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 absolutely takes place in a different place. And if that's true, then that meant there had to be 2 separate events. It completely tore apart my theory at what was ultimately a fragile fiber to base a theory on. But then I went back. I believe that my problem with looking into the MCI was using information that was only present in FNaF 2, and not the game we first heard about it, FNaF 1. So I looked at all 4 newspapers you can find, and what I discovered lit fireworks in my brain. The 2 important ones for this theory are regarding the incident itself, with the other 2 cluing us in as to where the bodies ended up, that being inside the animatronics. But what caught my eye was this opening about 2 children having gone missing and a suspect being arrested. The other newspaper then updates that number to 5, meaning it most likely happened later on. So although this doesn't confirm it outright, it implies that the Missing Children's Incident did not all happen on one day. After all, if all 5 went missing on the same day, then surely the original newspaper would link all 5 to the same killer. This set me off. If it was possible the MCI did not happen in one day, but rather over a timeline, then when did it stop? Armed with this new information, I looked into another source, that being the Silver Eyes. This book struck me with 2 pieces of worthwhile information that I think we need to consider. That being that in the book, Afton spaced out his crimes over the span of years, specifically between Charlotte and the Missing Children's Incident, which although the MCI kids all died on the same day in the books, it does show that the idea of Afton spacing out his murders and getting away with it each time is a recurring theme. This lines up with the FNaF 1 newspaper specifying the suspect was charged, but it never says convicted. So where am I taking this? Well, what if I was right? What if someone did die at the FNaF 2 location and they were technically part of the Missing Children's Incident? Making it happen over a longer time span means that it could have happened over the lifespan of different Freddy's locations. This is even supported by Phone Guy himself, specifying the FNaF 2 location is the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The company itself still sees it as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, just newer and better. This one wouldn't be riddled with death and despair like the old one, but in Afton's jealousy towards Henry, he had to keep going. Henry had made the new toy animatronics with a connection to police databases, most likely to keep William out specifically, but he found a way inside anyway, and killed yet again. But then, who? Who did he kill? Well, let's weigh our options. It can't be Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, or Foxy, since those are all characters who seem to be haunted before the events of FNAF 2. It also seems like this final death happened during the week of FNAF 2, since the way Phone Guy acts makes it sound like whatever happened the very day you received that phone call. And what does he specify?
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it.
And who starts spawning in the same night as that phone call, after being unable to spawn the entire rest of the game? Golden Freddy. But I know this might seem far-fetched. I'm claiming that the missing children's incident technically happened at both the original Freddy's and the new one, and that Golden Freddy was the last possession. Do I have any more proof than what could amount to coincidence on coincidence? Well, yes. You see, there are 4 minigames in FNAF 2, those being Take Cake, Save Them, Foxy Go Go Go, and Give Gifts. And of those 4, I think Give Gifts is the one that's painfully unutilized. What it seems to tell us is something very simple. The puppet gives each dead kid a gift, and then allows them to possess an animatronic. The thing is, there's only 4 in this minigame. Well, there's 4 until the very end. Just before the Golden Freddy jump scare, you can see another dead child spawn in. The fact that he spawns in now is what's most telling, as he spawned in only after all of the other kids have been given life. He hasn't been given anything at that point. Why? Because he wasn't there with the others. He was killed separately, at a later date. That's what I think FNAF 2 is really all about. It's an origin story for Golden Freddy. So let's rearrange this onto a new timeline. Yes, I used the bad timeline word, but come on. This theory that should be about one point on a timeline has now become its own timeline in and of itself. So let's start with the first Freddy's location. This is where William Afton starts his killing, murdering 2 children, most likely stuffing them into Bonnie and Chica. As Chica says in UCN, she was the first, she'd seen everything. However, William messes up and gets himself caught the next morning. However, without any evidence, he's let go. After this point, William decides to space out the rest of his killings so he doesn't attract suspicion anymore, killing 2 more kids and stuffing them into Foxy and Freddy over the course of months. At this point, however, the amount of kids having gone missing gives Freddy's a bad rap and the place is forced to close down. This may have been William's intent from the beginning, as we see in the Silver Eyes, William has a huge jealousy towards Henry, his business partner, and probably committed these crimes just to hurt him. Before the place closes down, however, the puppet gives life to each of the souls trapped inside the animatronic suits, which are then brought over to Henry's new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This act must have really pissed William off, and he couldn't leave well enough alone. The new toy animatronics have been constructed with facial recognition systems specifically to spot him in case he tried to come back, so he would have to wear his Spring Bonnie costume to evade their detection. This trick works for the night guard, why wouldn't it work for him too? So William lures 1 more child into the back room of this new Freddy's, and kills her, stuffing her into the old Fredbear suit since it was the only one in the back that wasn't already stuffed. William, in his ignorance though, ends up being caught by police and charged with the crime. This time, they'd get him. But once again, there were no bodies. Although the toys could probably recognize William's face once he took the costume off and put it away, they couldn't prove that William was the one who killed Cassidy. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. The FNAF 2 location is forced to shut down after only a few weeks of operation, as it became the final puzzle piece to the missing children's incident. And there you have it, my new and improved missing children's incident theory. Do I think it's correct? I do. I think this satisfies my questions and general questions of the fandoms. It ties every minigame together with the exception of Save Him, but like, we know that one. And it gives us an explanation for so much about FNAF 2. Why does Golden Freddy show up last? And why only on night 6? Because it's about Cassidy being the last to die and possess an animatronic. It ties the Silver Eyes into the story in a way that I think makes sense, and best of all, I think it makes the narrative of the first 2 games much more interesting than FNAF 2 simply being just a point in the timeline where a bite probably happened and we never know about it. Although, like always, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and also tell me what you want to hear about next. As always, I'm DMuted. If you enjoyed this theory, please subscribe. I also stream every Friday at 1 PM EST, so if you want to pop in during that, by all means, I'd love to see you there. Peace.